Notice. Okay, it appears that we are live. Let's see if the sound is working. Okay, it appears that we are live. Yeah, the sound is working. All right. Good to see everybody. And we will get started. First, we're going to chant. And tomorrow, I got news for everybody. Tomorrow is a very special day. In my Vaishnava calendar, it is Lord Nityananda's appearance day. So, tomorrow we will have class from the temple room at the same time, but it will be about Lord Nityananda. Let me get the guitar. All right, let's go. Evaro Karuna Guru Vaishnava Goswami Evaro Karuna Guru Vaishnava Goswami Patita Pavana Choma Vineke O Nai Patita Pavana Choma Vineke O Nai Yaranika Papa Dure Papa Dure Hey Mon Hey Mona Dayala Bravo keep a cold supply. Hey Mona Dayala Bravo keep a cold supply. Agara Rasa Boile Ashiteba Nangara Parasawile Ashiteba Dashanek Pavitra Koro into Marada Dakshanay Pavitra Kuro into Maraga Aristane Apurande Nare Harina Aristane Thomas Sandrone Nai Paritran Thomas Danne Aparade Nai Paritran Tomara Doi Sada Govina Vishnu Tomara Doi Sada Govina Vishnu Govina Kohen Namora Vaishnava Bharaton Govina Kohen Namora Vaishnava Bharaton Janme Gorita Sharanadu Janme Gorita Sharanadu Narottama Koro Doya Vaishnava Goswami Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya Olstoteta Sitashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chatananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Huidas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikopatath Sayam Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shi, Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutle Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyafhari Paschatya Desha Tarani. So today is a very special day on the Vaishnava, or in the Vaishnava calendar. It is the glorious appearance day of Lord Varaha, the boar incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we're going to speak about him, and let's see if we actually finish with that and can go on to the Ramananda Samvada. But first we'll talk about Lord Varaha. So Om Gana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, let me set the chat window so if anything goes wrong, someone can tell me it's going wrong. Where's the chat? Chat. Here we go. Right hand side of the screen. 1 secondito. Okay. We're ready to go. So magana timiranda shaganan jana shakya. Taksuan meditam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. So now we're going to talk about the story of Lord Varaha, the boar incarnation. If you don't know what a boar is a wild pig. Actually, I don't need my glasses for this. A boar is a wild pig. So it's not that the Lord is a wild pig. That is not a fact. The Lord is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's obviously not a wild pig. So, anyway, let me just do one thing here. All right. Anyway, that's not important. Okay, so here's the story. Of course, the story of Lord Varaha is quite interesting. It's similar to the story of Hiranyakashipu, because the Lord, that is Krishna, and Krishna has various expansions, incarnations. Because all the same person, Advaita Chuta Anadir Ananta Rupamadhyam Purana Purusham Navyo Vidam Cha. Krishna wanted to enjoy some interesting rasas, especially some of the indirect rasas. You know about the direct rasas. Direct rasas are like, what are they like? Like Shanta, Dasha, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Means, basically for devotees, it begins with servitude. Servitude, friendship, parental, and conjugal relationship. These are the direct rasas, or relationships, or tastes of relationships that one can have. So, but there are indirect rasas like shock, anger, humor, ghastliness. So, chivalry. So for the Lord to experience these to the highest extent, because in the spiritual world, you really can't have ghastliness. There's nothing ghastly that can take place in the spiritual world, right? As far as I know. Of course, I haven't been to the spiritual world, so I can't really tell you. But there is nothing ghastly going on, because there's no material bodies to be ghastly with. There's certainly humor and chivalry to a certain extent, but not to the same extent that it can be exhibited within this world. So therefore, the Lord sometimes comes down to this world, and when he comes down to this world to enjoy these different rasas, he sends his devotees down to sometimes act like demons. And for those of you who don't know what a demon is, that means demons. So anyway, so sometimes he sends his devotees down to act like demons, and in this way he can enjoy his rasa. And there's many examples of this. I mean, I think everybody here is familiar with the Jai and Vijay story, which we're going to tell in a second, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because everybody knows that story. But, Jai and Vijay came down as Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Kumbhakarna, Ravana, and Shishupal and Dantavakra, so that the Lord could interact with them. And, you also have the Tulsi Shalagram Vivaha story, where devotees came down so the Lord could interact with them in a very interesting way in this world. Okay, so here is the story in a nutshell of this demon Hiranyaksha coming down. So, of course, Diti, who's Diti? She's the wife of Kashyapa. in the heavenly planets, and they're both Prajapatis. So Diti was experiencing lusty desires, and Kashyapa told her, not a good time for lusty desires, inauspicious, because Lord Shiva comes around at this time and puts, sometimes demoniac entities into the womb of a lady. But she didn't listen. She caught his clothing, and then there was a relationship. And Kashyapa said, your son is going to become a demon. That's why Diti's sons are called Daityas, which means demons, a type of demon. And she prayed that the embryo would not be killed by Lord Shiva. And Kashyapa said, don't worry, your embryo's not going to be killed by Lord Shiva. Your embryo is going to be killed by Vishnu. So he predicted this, the death of his own son. And so Diti was happy because they'd be killed by Krishna. And in this way, her son or sons would be liberated. And even Kashyapa predicted that her son, that is Hiranyakashipu, would have a devotee as a son. Now, I don't know the name of Hiranyaksha's sons. He probably had some sons, but I don't know the names. I'm sure that they're there somewhere in the Puranas. So anyway, so that's how she gave birth to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And another part of that story is the cursing of the four Kumaras. The cursing the four Kumaras gave to Jai and Vijay. The four Kumaras did get cursed, but the cursing of the four Kumaras towards Jai and Vijay. So the four Kumaras were trying to go to the spiritual world. They went through 6 gates. On the 7th gate, they were stopped by Jai and Vijay. And they got really angry, and they said, you were experiencing duality. You're acting like demons, so you should go to the material world and become demons. And so the Lord appeared, and then they prayed to the Lord, please save us. And the Lord gave them the option. You become demons in 3 births or 7 births as devotees. And they wanted to become demons because that way they would come back sooner. So Hiranyaksha, which is the one we're talking about today, is the younger of the 2 brothers. And he was actually killed first. That's why Hiranyakashipu was really upset with Lord Vishnu when Hiranyaksha was killed. So first Hiranyaksha acted up. He went to heaven with his club, and the demigod started running away. And he was looking for someone to fight with. And so eventually he goes to this one demigod called Varuna. Varuna is like the god of the ocean, water. And so Varuna didn't want to fight with him. He said, I'm too old to fight. So why don't you fight with Vishnu? You'll be killed by him. And so this demon, this is really chivalry. In other words, if I heard that someone was going to kill me, I would make sure I was on the opposite end of the earth from him or her. One time, there was someone in the temple, not here, but years ago, who wanted to kill me. But I don't know if they actually wanted to kill me. They said, I'd like to kill him. I just locked my door. I think I went into the bathroom and locked the door of the bathroom until they left. So anyway, but this is chivalry. I mean, that's a Kshatriya. If a Kshatriya hears, or one with Kshatriya mentality, hears that someone wants to kill him, he just gets excited. Wow, this is great. Like Banasura, also the same thing. Banasura, the story goes that Banasura had 1,000 arms, and he was just beating his arms against rocks and mountains and everything like that, and no one could fight with him. And so he asked Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, what do you want? And he said, I want to fight with someone. And Lord Shiva said, okay, you're going to meet him. That's Vishnu, Krishna. And he eventually got, not killed, but he got all of his arms except for 4 chopped off by Krishna. That story's there in the Krishna book in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, anyway, so this demon, wanting to actually be killed by Vishnu and fight with Vishnu, asked Narada Muni, "Where is Vishnu?" And Narada knew the whole pastime, because these pastimes are Nitya Leela. Nitya Leela means, does anyone know what it means? It means eternal. They're occurring again and again. So Narada was familiar with this pastime. He said, Lord Vishnu was in the ocean. I saw him with the Earth planet. And so, why was he with the Earth planet? Because the Earth had sunk down into the bottom of the Garbhodak Ocean. The Garbhodak Ocean is not exactly like water like we know it. It's far more subtle. And that is part of the universe, half of the universe. So the Earth had sunk down, and in order to pick the Earth up from this place, of course it wasn't dirty per se, but Prabhupada said, and the Bhagavatam says that a pig can go into dirty places, and of course we can't say the Garbhodak Ocean is dirty, but I guess the lower regions of the universe might consider be like the dirt of the universe, or the refuse of the universe, or something like that. So he went down with his tusks, because that's what a boar is. A boar has big tusks. They come out at the top of the mouth and they curve up. So he went down into the Garbhodak Ocean, picked up the Earth, and came on the top of the ocean, and he saw this demon, and the demon saw him. And the demon got really angry. He said, the earth is ours. And Krishna, as Lord Boar, placed the earth on the water. And there was a big fight at that particular juncture. And during that fight, and if we have time, actually, I can read some from the Bhagavatam. During that fight, Krishna was playing with him. He was playing with him. So Brahma was getting really nervous about the whole thing, particularly as it started to turn to dusk in the universe. Dusk, that's twilight, means the demons get more powerful. That's why that you have bars. Everybody knows what a bar is, where people drink. Pubs, bars, whatever you call them. They keep them dark. Let's keep them dark. Devotees like, at least I like, to have things light. Some devotees, they like to have the temple room really dark, and they think this helps with the chanting. But actually the light keeps you awake. It keeps the demons out. Of course, no demons go in the temple room, hopefully, as long as there's sincere chanting. So, anyway, so it was getting to be dark. Brahma got really nervous. Krishna was laughing. He was fighting with him, and at one time, Krishna dropped his mace, and the demon said, pick it up. And eventually, the Sudarshan chakra came out to get rid of, not to kill the demon. He didn't kill the demon with the Sudarshan chakra, but he cut the demon's trident to pieces with the Sudarshan chakra. And also Krishna caught the demon's mace. At a particular juncture, the demon disappeared, and he had some magic, and pus came from the air, and hair, and stool, and naked demonesses. That's a lady demon. Demon eye. You don't say. It's interesting. With demons, you say demonesses. You don't say lady demon. That's interesting. But those who are chauvinistic, instead of saying Vaishnavi, they'll say a lady devotee or a lady guru or something like that, or female guru. It's interesting. Actually, it's interesting, this whole discussion. between whether ladies can become spiritual masters or not. Those who are against ladies having that opportunity, if they're qualified, say basically it's called the FDG issue for them, female Diksha Guru. And for those who are in favor, they call it the VDG issue. That means Vaishnavi Diksha Guru. So it's interesting, by nomenclature, they're very reluctant to indicate that the ladies are Vaishnavis. It's interesting how you could really see someone's mentality by how they refer to someone or a group of people. So anyway, so this Siddharshana dispelled all the magic, and then when Diti understood that her son was going to be killed by the Lord, it's described that blood flowed from her breasts. The demon made one final attempt to kill Krishna. He hugged Krishna. Well, it's not exactly a hug. It's called, in America, it's called a bear hug. Like if you're ever hugged by a bear, you're finished. Because the bear will crush you by his hug. So the demon tried to do that. But he embraced Krishna, and then he looked, and Krishna was outside of his embrace. And Krishna just nonchalantly, with his hoof, because the boar, that is the boar incarnation, has hoofs, not feet like we do, slapped him on the root of the ear. That means right at the bottom of the ear, like you can see right here. And he died. Wow. That's really something. Okay. So, as far as the Lord Boar's appearance, the story goes that once upon a time, Manu was ordered by Lord Brahma to create, and as Brahma was meditating and Manu was meditating, the earth fell into the Garbhodak ocean. Brahma was meditating as what he should do about it. And then from his nostril, that's the nose, one of the holes in the nose, the little tiny boar came. And he roared. Rawr. And then he flew in the sky, got bigger and bigger and bigger, made big, big, big waves. And that's the story of Lord Boar. And maybe we should read from the Bhagavatam. Maybe I can share a screen. Let's see if we have that section. Give me one section. We can read about it. And because this is actually a very important day for Dwadasi. Dwadasi means the day after Ekadashi. So let's do a little dramatic reading right now. Give me a second to find that file. Varaha. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's good to read from the Bhagavatam. It's crazy. And the people have to call me in the middle of class. The problem is if I shut it off, he thinks I answered, and I shut him down. Good. All right, let's share the screen. Yeah, that's the problem with people call and me leaving the phone on. Okay, let's hear. This is Lord Varaha. Okay. Here we go. I believe everybody can see that. Let me just move the chat window out of the way. Okay, and move. This is, it's negative. All right. There we go. Okay, this is from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll try to do a little dramatic reading with this. I'm going to make it a little bigger. There we go. This is a discussion between Maitreya and Vidura. Okay, so this is Manu talking to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, we're beginning from 3:13:9. My dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you, and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have without reservation surrendered yourself unto me with all your heart for my instructions. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required, one who is beyond the limit of envy, and who is sane, accepts the order of his father with great delight, and executes it to his full capacity. Since you are a very obedient son, I ask you to beget children qualified like yourself in the womb of your wife, rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, let's skip this. Here. So Manu said, O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. So Manu, of course, is the father of all mankind. He's saying to Lord Brahma, O master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. So actually at this point, the Lord, that is Lord Brahma, didn't know how to lift the earth planet. He was bewildered. So when someone's bewildered, what do? Brahma thought, thus seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time as to how it could be lifted. Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge, that's a flood. And some of you in New Zealand have experienced the flood, and has gone down to the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. O descendant of Bharta, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great Brahmins like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu? While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead roared tumultuously like a great mountain. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and all the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. When the great sages and thinkers, who are residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka, heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and glittering white tusks. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water, diving into the water like a giant mountain. Lord Bor divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly, as if praying to the Lord, O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Lord Bor penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Bor very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshana wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Thereupon, Lord Bor killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon. Now that's ghastliness, the indirect humor that I talked about before. That's pretty ghastly. I mean, it's enough. I remember the first time I saw my own blood. I was at the doctor. This is before I became a devotee. Don't worry. This is not that I'm a petunia now. So, first time I saw my own blood, the doctor was taking a little blood. I fainted. Just to see the blood. I fainted, and the doctor had to pick me up off the ground. I was like, how young? About 9 years old. I remember it to this day. So this is ghastliness. So the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, this is also chivalry. I mean, just like you have in the Battle of Kurukshetra, where Draupadi, she took the blood from Dusha's son that was given to her by Bhimsen and put it in the part of her hair, and smeared it over her hair. Bhimsen didn't actually drink the blood of Dushasana. He didn't actually drink it. He made believe it. He was drinking it, so he wasn't a Rakshasa. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages, headed by Rama, could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. In other words, he changed his complexion from the time he was in the earth, which is, I guess it was like a brownish complexion. They changed it to bluish, like Krishna. Like that, in that way, they understood he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Lord Vishnu has the same type of complexion, Krishna has the same type of complexion. So, obviously, he's God. So all the sages uttered with great respect, O unconquerable enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and all victories to you. You are moving in your form, the personified Vedas, and the hair holds your body, the oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar. And so there's all these prayers right now, which we're not going to read all the prayers, I believe. More of the story in the next chapter. It's described here. If one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of the Lord Bor, which is worthy of description, the Lord who is within the heart of everyone is pleased. So that's a benediction given at the end of the chapter. So here is the actual description from the Bhagavatam of the fight between Lord Bor and Hiranyaksha. So, there's also Maitreya, discussion between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. The falsely proud and falsely glorious Daicha, that's of course Hiranyaksha, the son of Diti, paid little heed to the words of Varuna. Remember I said that Varuna told him that you should fight with Vishnu, and Vishnu is in the ocean according to Narada Muni. Oh dear Vidura, he learned from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly took himself to the depths of the ocean. There he saw the all-powerful Personality of Godhead in his Bor incarnation, bearing the earth upward on the ends of his tusks and robbing him of his splendor with his reddish eyes. The demon laughed. Oh, an amphibious beast. Amphibious means that an animal can live both on the land or in the water. Amphibious, you understand? And there are creatures like that who can live both on the land and in the water. For example, you have seals. You know, seals. Seals can live on the land or on icebergs and in the water. And polar bears also. The demon addressed the Lord. O best of the demigods dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions. You cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. You rascal! In other words, he called Krishna a rascal. You have been nursed by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic, so today I shall enliven my kinsmen, that's relatives, by killing you. The demon continued, when you fall dead with your skull, this is such chivalry. You see a perverted reflection of this when you watch, you should not watch, a football game or a rugby or something like that. There are people calling each other names. Not so much in tennis like that, but in rougher games. It's like that. When you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace, hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offered you oblations as a sacrifice and devotional service will automatically cease to exist like trees without roots. Although the Lord was pained, in other words, he wanted to experience it. Obviously nobody can pain the Lord, but he wanted to experience this pain of the chivalrous exchange. Because what he was been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So he was acting in a chivalrous mood. In chivalrous mood, if someone doesn't respect you, you get upset. Right? Like Krishna said to Arjuna, for one who is honored, dishonor is worse than death. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator or crocodile. The demon, who had golden hair on his head, so I guess he was from Europe, and fearful tusks, gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There's nothing reproachable for shameless creatures. The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his own energy in the form of the ability to float in the water. While the enemies stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, spangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. This is all chivalrous. Remember, this is the indirect rus we're talking about here, of chivalry. And anger. You have two things, chivalry and anger. Krishna is not afraid of him. Personality of God has said, indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Certainly we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatala, and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time, because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I have no place to go. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. In other words, just try to kill me. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word. So Krishna was also agitating this demon. He was just saying, yes, trying to get him angrier and angrier and angrier. And we see sometimes Narada Muni does that, sometimes Krishna does that. And Krishna enjoys this. He really wants to get this peak anger from the demon so he can enjoy this fighting. He wanted to enjoy his own anger. The demon, being thus challenged by the personality of Godhead, became angry and agitated, and he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra. Hissing indignantly with all his senses shaken by wrath, the demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. The Lord, however, by moving aside, slightly aside, dodged the violent mace blow aimed at the breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Then with his mace the Lord struck the demon on the right of his brow, but since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. In this way the demon Hiranyaksha and the Lord, the personality of Godhead, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. There was keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and in their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. O descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of God who appeared in the form of a boar. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon, who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of a boar for the first time. Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the Brahmins, the cows, and innocent persons who are spotless and always dependent upon worshipping your lotus feet. He has become a source of fear by unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon from me, he has become a demon, always searching for a proper combatant, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose." Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, there is no need to play with the serpentine demon, who is always very skillful in conjuring tricks and arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked." Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill the sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives," that's at dusk, and he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without a doubt. My Lord, the darkest evening which covers the world is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kill him and win victory for the demigods. So that's an indication in the evening you should take rest early. These late night programs are not that good. The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and is all but past. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. This demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you, his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the Creator, which are free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiranyaksha demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderfully. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike as an armed foe without obstruction, he respected the law of single combat, therefore kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord. In other words, he's chivalrous. This is chivalrous. He could have killed him. It wasn't a Gunda attacking the Lord. It was a very chivalrous demon with Kshatriya mentality, but demoniac Kshatriya mentality. As the Lord's mace fell to the ground, a cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis. The personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshan discus. So, anyway, don't have much time. As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended at close quarters with his chief of the Vaikuntha attendants who had borne as Hiranyaksha, A vile son of Diti, there issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality. They were under Yogamaya, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray, dispatch him, play no more with him." When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, with eyes just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with a Sudarshan discus, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent, and he bit his lip in great resentment. The demon, who had fearful tusks, stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain, O saintly Vidura." While his enemy looked on, the Lord in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. The Lord then said, "Take up your weapon, try again, eager as you are to conquer me." Challenged in these words, the demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared. When the Lord saw the mace flying toward him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent. His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put out of countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered by the personality of Godhead. He now took a trident, which was as rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against the holy Brahmin. Hurled by the mighty demon with all the strength, the flying tridents shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore it to pieces with his discus Sudarshan, which had a sharp-edged rim, even as Indra cut off a wing of Garuda. The demon was enraged when his trident was cut to pieces by the discs of the personality of Godhead. He therefore advanced toward the Lord and, roaring aloud, struck his hard fist against the Lord's broad chest, which bore the mark of Shivatsa. Then he went out of sight. Hit in this manner by the demon of Vidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boar, did not feel the least quaking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would then be struck with a wreath of flowers. The demon, however, employed many conjuring tricks against the personality of Godhead, who was the Lord of Yogamaya. At the sight of this, the people were filled with alarm and thought that the dissolution of the universe was near. Fierce winds began to blow from all directions, spreading darkness occasioned by dusk and hailstorms. Stones came in volleys from every corner as if thrown by machine guns. The luminaries in outer space disappeared due to the skies being overcast with masses of clouds, which were accompanied by lightning and thunder. The sky rained pus, hair, blood, stool, urine, and bones. O sinless Vidura, mountains discharged weapons of various kinds, and naked demonesses armed with tridents appeared with their hair hanging loose. Cruel and savage slogans were uttered by hosts of ruffians, yakshas and rakshasas, who either marched on foot or rode on horses, elephants, or chariots. The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifices, now discharged his beloved Sudarshan, which was capable of dispersing the magical forces displayed by the demon. At that very moment, a shudder suddenly ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha. She recalled the words of her husband Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breasts. When the demon saw his magic forces dispelled, he at once came into the presence of the personality of Godhead Keshava, and full of rage tried to embrace him within his arms, to crush him, but to his great amazement he found the Lord standing outside the circle of his arms. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fist, but as Lord Adhokshaja slapped him in the root of the ear, even as Indra, the Lord of the Maruts, hit the demon Vrita. Though struck indifferently by the Lord, not even full strength, little tiny strength, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair in his head scattered. He fell down dead, like a gigantic tree, uprooted by the wind. And so that's the story of the killing of Hiranyaksha and Lord Boar's appearance. I thought it would be nice to read it, and it was very nice to read it. So now, if anyone has any quick questions, because we took a little longer in our reading today, so let me allow you to unmute yourselves. Hold on a second. You can, right now, you could either, where's that? Here we go. You can either unmute yourself, raise your hand, or type in the chat window. You have those three options. So, Rishikesh, you have a question.
Yes, Gurudev. Just I was just curious, Gurudev. Since the earth was, this was the beginning of the creation. That means the Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were not on the Earth planet, right? They were on a different planet. Uh,
They were not what? It's hard to understand you.
they were not. They were not deciding on the Earth planet because Earth planet was in the water. They were born in a different planet, right?
They were
Because
born. They were
in a
born on different.
different planet.
Yeah, they were born on a different planet, not on the Earth.
Okay.
Not on the Earth planet. So
Okay.
obviously, they weren't born on the Earth planet because the Earth was submerged at that particular point.
Right.
And that was when Manu was ordered to create mankind. So, from my understanding, there weren't too many people kind, men and women around. We say mankind, humankind. Let's say it's humankind. He's the father of humankind.
So Gurudev, this Ahavalam which we have in India, right? Uh,
Yeah,
so that's a different. It's really not the residence of Hiranyakashipu then.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's considered by many to be the place of Hiranyakashipu, and then you have the Ugrastamba there. But I take it like an embassy. I mean, for example, you have Brindavan in on the Earth planet, which is basically a representation of the spiritual world.
Uh-huh.
So in the same way, you can have different representations of different things that happen in different planetary systems in on the Earth planet.
Okay. So that's
I mean, even if you go to Brindavan, there's a Lakshman Julan there. There's the Himalayas represented in Western Braj. So you have these different manifestations or representations of different places that may be in different locales, even on the Earth, what to speak of in different locales and other planets.
okay. Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you.
Okay. Happy to explain that. That's my understanding. I mean, obviously, Hiranyakashipu's palace, original palace, was not on the Earth planet. It was not on the Earth planet. But, it's represented like an embassy. Another example is sometimes probably give like an embassy or a manifestation like that, or anyway, different explanations like that. So, any other questions? That's actually time to end. So, tomorrow night, same time, same station, it's going to be Lord Nityananda's appearance. And we're going to be speaking about Lord Nityananda roughly about the same time, so just wait till you get the notice. We're going to be speaking about Lord Nityananda, and you're invited to join us at that particular time. It'll take place in the temple room. Okay? Thank you very much. And also tomorrow morning, our class is going to be about Lord Nityananda. So tomorrow morning here, which is nighttime for those of you in Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and tomorrow evening here, which is East Coast United States, which is the morning for those of you in Australia, New Zealand, Fiji the next day. Okay, on that happy note, so thank you very much. All